Hello, everyone. Welcome to Webtoon Book Club. Today's story, AXED, by Emmy MG and Sharon Patel. So, our story starts with our main character, Axel. We're just gonna call her Axe. Saying how she's prepared her entire life and trained, ready to hunt down the monsters the thousand-eyed monster that took her friend away from her from many years ago. And once she's finally trained and ready to go out on her grand adventure, she finds that there's a treaty between monsters and humans to stop all the bloodshed. So now she has to go out and get a real job. where she literally goes to the job counseling place, which is ran by the Loch Ness Monster. And the Loch Ness Monster decides, and Nessie just decides, here, you can do my job, and then leaves. Where then she comes across a demon called DB, which then immediately they go out and become lumberjacks. Where we then meet our next character, Fiona. Also, DB burnt the entire force down, so they got fired from that job. And that's basically how most of this story goes, is them literally being hired to odd jobs, screwing it up, being fired, and then going off to the next one. So for what it is, they're basically short comedic... It's basically a bunch of comedic scenarios, all lined up in a somewhat coherent story. But that story is threaded together by what is essentially a whole bunch of nonsense. But what story there is eventually we're introduced to, I guess, the villain named A Job, because they made that joke earlier in the series several times, who has his skeleton crew, literally 2 skeletons that are bumbling morons. And he wants to have every job in the world, which he manages to do. And he makes his skeletons do all the work. There's only 2 of them, so it doesn't really go well. And of course, our main cast of characters realize, this sucks, it's boring. So they go out to stop a job and get all the jobs back. And then once they manage to do that, A Job decides to go get a job. And we really don't see him much. Or we do. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. But then we deal with the situation where Axe is really adamant to go find the thousand-eyed monster. And she ends up figuring out that there was no thousand-eyed monster. It was just a misremembering of her in a panicked state during her childhood, because her friend that she lost long ago was actually a monster who is a shapeshifter. And she confused what was broken glass and her seeing her own reflection 1,000 times over in the black mass of the shapeshifter as a monster that was more horrifying than it actually was. But in the whole spiel, a giant fight breaks out and everybody dies. Except for the demon guy, except for DB, because he's already a demon, so everybody goes to hell. Except for Nessie. Nessie goes to Valhalla and then gets to become the counselor for all the characters so they can get out of hell, which requires them getting a job. And that's the end of the story. Yeah, there really is, like I said, there isn't much of a story here more than just a loose thread of a story between a whole bunch of nonsense. And that's not a bad thing. This story is amazingly hilarious and stupid, and I love it. So if you're in the mood for just dumb fun, this is definitely a story to check out. Because you're certainly going to get a whole lot of dumb fun. And that's not the only thing. Well, Cheryl Patel, I don't know if she's done anymore. But MEMG, who is kind of the main mind behind AXED, does. And still puts out stuff. And they're hilarious. So as far as that goes, check it out. You'll have a good time. But with that, the list of stories is in the description. More has been added on to it. Vote for which one you would like me to talk about next, and vote for it in the comments. And I will see you next time.